Well, hey, everyone. Coming to you from planet Earth all around. We are here for the Four Horsemen panel for LibertyCon. So we have a number of different people here. I'm going to let everybody go through first and introduce themselves, and they can say what they've done with the Four Horsemen universe. And I will start with the Colonel.
Well, I am not a writer. I do not write things. Things that I write are bad. But I am the president of the fan organization, the official Four Horsemen group, and my job is to try to bring some of the book to the real world for people to experience.
Rob?
Well, I am a writer. I hope I write better than Tom. I wrote The Feeding of Sorrows and all of the other short stories in the with the Queen Elizabeth's Own Foresters, and also some Zool and some Kashkala come along to play.
Jamie?
I'm Jamie Ibson, and I've got a short story featuring Coronato's finest in Luck is Not a Factor, and then again in Negotiations. I did Gunboat Diplomacy, featuring the Pushtal and the very beginnings of Hrent the Enforcer's career. And then there's a short story in Set the Terms that follows up with some of the characters from that story a couple of years on it.
Mark?
I'm a writer. I did Tangent Orange and Set the Terms, and I did a collaboration with Matt Novotny for Prodigal Son.
Peacemaker 6.
Hey, I'm Kevin Ikenberry. I have written 8 novels in the Four Horsemen universe. I'm one of the 6 core authors. I'm the caretaker of the Peacemaker Guild, which is sort of the law enforcement arm of the Galactic Union. Several different short stories as well, and a couple of different anthologies.
Oz?
I'm John R. Osborne, and I drink and I write things. In this case, I write about Bjorn's Berserkers in the Four Horsemen universe. So I have 3 novels, starting from the young adult line all the way up into the current storyline, and a handful of short stories as well.
Marissa?
Hi, I'm Marissa Wolf. I have gotten to write with Kacey and Mark about both cats and dogs, because that's how I live. So Assassin, Negotiation, Hunter, Night Song, and a handful of short stories that will be growing very soon.
Kacey?
I am Kacey Moores. I'd like to say I'm more of an aspiring writer, but I'm working on it. I'm getting there. My first story was in Negotiation, Blind Fury, whose characters I have just revisited in a novel I should be pushing soon. I got a story in Set the Terms called Recovery, the first flight of Blue Flight in the Peacemaker Guild. I've got 2 short stories in Gates of Hell, The Mushroom Farm, and a collaboration I wrote with Kevin Ikenberry, Freedom of Maneuver. And The Mushroom Farm, that story then spawned the first novel I wrote, These Things We Do. The follow-up I've just finished, Mess with the Bull, that's in editing right now, and I'm currently working on a collaboration with Jamie Ibson.
Ian?
Yo, folks, Ian J. Malone. I started out with a short story in For a Few Credits More, which was Family Tradition. I should probably preface that by saying I'm a writer and I'm a rock documentary junkie, which was kind of what spawned For a Few Credits More. I sat up all night watching a Skinner documentary with my wife, had a short story. It eventually turned into the novel Freebird Rising, which apparently folks liked, and so much so that we're doing a sequel, which drops on May the 21st in The Street Survivors, going to arrive at Fantasize. So thanks for having me.
Tim?
Like Ian, I started off with a short story in For a Few Credits More. I've written 4 novels, one of those co-written with Chris Kennedy. They all feature the Midnight Sun Free Company. I have done so far. Several short stories and possibly some more of those to come.
Mark?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
I started with a little book called Cartwright's Cavaliers about 5.5 years ago. 4.5 years ago.
For people that don't recognize you, what's your last name?
Wandry.
Okay.
I'm in the hinterlands of Bowling Green here, so I'm glad I even made it at all.
Okay, what the question is, tell people what you write in the Four Horsemen universe. What do you do?
Whatever you pay me to write. I created the Four Horsemen universe originally before you came on board, and then we made it a group collaboration. I started with Cartwright's Cavaliers, and I think I have my name now on about 26 books in the Four Horsemen universe, of which I have solo written 5 and co-written another, I think between you and me, another 10 or 12.
And live from Japan,
Oh,
we have girl Kacey.
Hi. Yeah, sorry. It took me a minute to get on.
It's okay. The question is, tell everyone who you are and what you do in the Four Horsemen universe.
My name is Kacey Ezell. I am a writer and still for a few more months, currently active duty Air Force helicopter pilot stationed in Japan, as you said. So I'm coming to you from the future. It's super exciting here. But in the Four Horsemen universe, I started with a short story called Gilded Cage, or The Gilded Cage, I think, in Fistful of Credits, the first anthology, and was subsequently invited to expand that into a novel. And I said, great, I'd love to. Also, I need help. So I called Marissa, and that became Assassin and Hunter, and we are working on Ally. So I also have the the fun experience of, like, I wrote a little 1,000-word vignette that was inspired by Winged Hussars, and I sent it to Mark and Chris, you know, just kind of like, hey, look at this funny little thing I did. And Mark's like, cool. All right. So now we're going to write a novel called Weaver together. And so yeah, I've written Weaver, and I've done the Depic books with Marissa. So.
Great. And I didn't say my name as we came on, but I'm Chris Kennedy. I'm the other co-author with Mark in many of the main storyline books. Also have some other ones with Tim and Ian, a couple on my own. I was trying to count up how many I had. I don't know. There's quite a few, and there'll be quite a few more coming. So let's see. What do you like about the Four Horsemen universe? You know, what makes it fun for you to participate in? And we'll click down a couple. Jamie, what do you like about being involved with this? Why will people want to read what we write?
The scope and scale, I think, is pretty close to unparalleled. You know, we've got so many different authors who write so many different things so well. You can find something that you're going to enjoy, you know, whatever kind of sci-fi it is that you enjoy, and even if you don't. You know, from when you consider that Cartwright's only came out in December 2016, for us to have this many novels with this many authors with this many stories, it's pretty tremendous.
Mark Stallings.
So for me, you know, the big enchantment was the military sci-fi aspect, and I love the phrase "kill aliens, get paid." I mean, being able to have mercenary companies that are going out and trying to better Earth's position in the universe by kicking a little alien booty. I mean, I love that, and you meeting all the different characters through Weaver and Assassin and Night Song, of seeing all the different alien cultures has been just a blast, and I love participating in it.
Ike?
I think the biggest thing for me coming in very early into the universe was the sense of family we've developed. You know, this is a big group of people on a Zoom call, but we do something like this almost every week because we just kind of like hanging out with each other, and we work very well with each other, and ideas and you know, things that you would more likely consider intellectual property are passed very freely between one another. We've had the opportunity to pass off characters and storylines, and that's really something that's I think is pretty unheard of when it comes to a shared universe like this. You could be real parochial about your creations, but in the Four Horsemen universe, we don't. And if somebody comes to one of us and says, I have a story in your group, can I write it? The answer is probably going to be yes, and that's just fantastic.
Oz.
So for me, it's the people, both the characters in the universe, because there's such a broad variety, including, when I say people, I don't mean just humans. There's lots of great alien characters that really bring a depth to the universe. But it's also the writers. One of the things I love about this universe is it gives so many writers an opportunity, especially new writers like myself when I started, an opportunity to get their work out there in front of eyes and be part of this this great thing.
Marissa?
I mean, I was just going to gesture broadly at all of this. So yes, all of this, all of these yahoos who are amazing and talented and make me step up my game every day. And just the fact that it feels like a lived in universe, because so many different people can tell so many different stories. And there's the underdogs, and there's the assassins, and there's the old warriors, and there's just anything you could want, you can find in 4HU. And I love that.
Kacey? Boy Kacey?
Using my Air Force term, piggybacking on what Marissa just said, that's what I loved about it. It's so wide open, it's so broad, and the opportunities and the perspectives that people have brought into it from so many different angles. I'll be honest, I hadn't written anything in a long, long time. And then I read Cartwright's Cavaliers. I saw the panel at at Dragon Con a few years back. And I just sort of created a story in my mind at that panel, and it just like the floodgates opened, I started writing. I hadn't written in a long time, and now I've got short stories and a novel, and in a second novel, it's on its way. And so personally, the fun part that I liked jumping into initially, I have a special ops and rescue background, so that's sort of what I ran with, was recreating special operations and rescues from history. So much so that I've actually turned it into a joke in my latest book.
And I think there's definitely a chance for everybody, no matter what they like and what they want, to jump in there. Ian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo what everybody else said about the people and how we have such just a broad range of personalities on this call and in the universe in general. But, but breaking that out, I think that reflects very much in the writing. Everything is different. It's wonderful to pick up a 4HU book from Chris Kennedy because it's going to have a very distinct style. And then you finish that one and you pick up a book from Mark Wandry, which is going to be a very different thing altogether, which is going to be very different from a Kacey Ezell book, which is going to be very different from a Rob Howell book, and all in a very natural, cool way. And I think that's why this universe is blown up the way that it has, is because it's not at all formulaic. You put this many personalities together with this much, tender love and care in these stories, and you get this just really rich universe that just never gets old. So that's the big thing that really sets the 4HU apart for me from other universes in this type of literature.
Tim?
Yeah, rich. I like that word that Ian just used there. I mean, my first introduction was the first anthology, in fact. And I think it's quite a remarkable thing that there was 2 novels in, then they sort of paused to do anthologies, and there was so much energy in that so many people wanting to have a go in the universe, that of course then there was another one. And that, for me, I like that sort of thing, the really big, like a really big role-playing universe. That's how I felt of it at the start. There's so many source books coming, I mean, all those stories in the anthologies and of course the novels as well was like a different source book for a different part of the universe. It seems so big, and that's what really engaged my my excitement. And I still feel like that now. And having so many people involved, I think, does make it feel like a family, not just the writers, but fans as well. It's a nice place to be, whether you're reading or whether you're writing or whether you're just enjoying it.
Mark Wandry?
Why do I like writing in it?
Yeah.
I liked it so much I created it. I mean,
what's most fun in it for you then?
The funnest thing in it for me is that having some degree of control is really cool. I mean, I like being able to shape some of the direction, but I like to think of myself as when I started this, doing nothing more than drawing the paint by numbers thing. I'm the guy who drew all the lines. And now all of these incredible authors have come in here and went, hey, I want to do this. And hey, I want to do that. And what if we do this? And taking these pieces and incorporating it. And we've created this unbelievable mosaic between Chris and I and the other core authors, Kevin and Marissa and Kacey and Oz. And we've done all this together. And then everybody else adds these little pieces here and there with other books, and sometimes bigger pieces as well. And what we've done is so much better than what any one of us could have done by ourselves. This is like Tim said. I mean, we did this in a little over 4 years, and it's over 70 books now, right, Chris? I mean,
62, but okay.
Yeah, who could have done that? I mean, that's the amazing thing about it. I guess Louis L'Amour could have years, but ours are also always 90,000+ words. So we try to give a good bang for our buck, and that's what we're out to do. That's what I love doing about it too. It's so much fun. Even I get surprised by a new cover. Ooh, what's that going to be?
Yeah. Girl Kacey.
So I think the thing that is most exciting to me about the Four Horsemen universe is kind of the same thing that was most exciting to me. I have an amazing husband. That was most exciting to me. When you guys first invited me to contribute a story for the anthology, and that's the vast scope of this universe that is created. I mean, we call it the Four Horsemen universe, not the Four Horsemen planet or the Four Horsemen galaxy, because it really is that huge in scale. And there's, writing for me is always, about, interactions between characters and the stories on the individual level. And with a universe of this scope, there's so many stories to tell and so many interactions to explore and so many cool dynamics. And they're all, and then when you think about the fact that it's not just human to human dynamics, it's human to alien dynamics, it's alien to alien dynamics. And where is the universal emotion that can resonate with the reader? In all of those dynamics. And I think that that's what people love about the Four Horsemen universe who read it. That's what people love about the Four Horsemen universe who write in it, is that, whatever piece you pick up, you're going to find something that's going to grab you in the feels and just make you, give you that emotional experience that you're looking for.
Colonel, as the non-writer in the group, what do you like best about it?
See, I've
you
got
liked it so much you signed up to lead the fan organization.
And that's what it comes down to is my favorite thing about the Four Horsemen universe really comes down to the phrase, the Four Horsemen for Earth. And in this time that we've got where in the world, there's so much division and so many people against each other and so many different opinions and everybody getting offended and this and that, when we can bring a universe where ultimately we're who we have, the humans got us together. We are one big family. And the Four Horsemen really brings that kind of to a point. If you look at the four leaders of the different mercenary organizations that create the Four Horsemen, you've got very different personalities and very different culturals. And they're able to put aside their differences and come together, put aside the profits, put aside everything, come together to save the planet and to bring peace back to us. And then also go out and take care of the business they need to take care of in space. So that's the main reason that kind of pulled me into it. And we kind of try to bring that into the fan organization as an example. For example, we've raised a little bit over $25,000 since the organization started for various charities through the efforts of the different chapters. We're set up, once we get our tax ID, we're set up to make a lot more money for a lot of different people, including our Horses for Heroes charity, which we've sponsored as a fan organization, but then a bunch of other little charities as well. And then the Four Horsemen just brings together just a little bit of perspective for everybody, viewpoints from alien viewpoints to human viewpoints to just all this color, like Mark said, a mosaic that just brings you in. So it's just the fact that it can bring so many different people together.
Jamie, you wanted to add something there?
Just to jump in on what the Colonel said, I'm the Lieutenant Colonel for membership, and I've been talking with Lee Smith, who works with me in membership. And the organization itself, TMG, has members from Australia, Bermuda, Canada, Chile, China, Germany, Great Britain, Ireland, Italy, Mexico, New Zealand, Portugal, United States, and South Africa. So even the fan group itself is international, and we're closing in on 700 members total. And I think the fact that 4HU is so popular to so many people all across the globe, that right there speaks to its universal appeal.
And Rob, you have anything to add there?
Not much, but a little bit. I want to echo the best part is this crew, which we're going to have a lot of fun with this crew. As much of this crew will be at Fantasy, I'm excited to see all y'all in person that can be there. But I also want to thank the opportunity is the word here. You gave a lot of us opportunities to try new stuff. I got to, very specifically for me, the Queen Elizabeth's Own Foresters came out of some of my family history, and I got to delve into some things I didn't quite know about as much in my grandfather's service in World War I, and got to expand upon that, and that's what brought forth the Queen Elizabeth's Own Foresters in the beginning. And that's an opportunity I don't know that I would have ever had if I'd have started in another universe. And that's a personal thing, and that's not even talking about the opportunity to write. And I think a lot of us here have really appreciate that opportunity.
And I have two things that I like. John Osborne talked about it, the opportunity to get new people in. I'm not sure how many people have gotten their start in the universe, but I think it's over 10 now. It's got to be at least 15 who had their first published stuff either in an anthology, and some people have just come right out and written a book. So it's done wonders for the author community, and on a personal level for me, the fun part of it is talking about it with all the rest of the people here. There's been a lot of times where the core authors, we have our own little Facebook chat, and we'll be talking and, hey, let's do this. Oh, and if you do that, then I do this, and then, oh, and then wait. And all of a sudden we're yelling and jumping up and down and trying to be the next one to talk, because everybody's got a great idea that they can throw in. And, it just, hey, there's this one little thing that I'd like to explore. And then all of a sudden, it's a whole new storyline, and there's other stuff to add. And it's just, everybody gets everybody else so excited that it's really a fun place to write in. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So that's everybody through that. I'm kind of curious. We've got a wide variety of people here. What is your favorite character and why? And we'll start with Kevin.
How did I know you're going to start with me?
Because I moved 2 over on the first one, and then I moved 2 more. I'm trying to rotate it through so everybody doesn't get stuck being the last guy with nothing to say except, oh yeah, what everyone else said.
Yeah. So I've been sitting here since you posted the question, trying to think.
Oh, now you're giving my secrets away.
Of who my favorite character is, and I can't answer the question. I really can't. If you look across the board from the characters from the first 4 books, the characters introduced in all the different short stories, the characters that I've created and written, I can't name a favorite. I think about my favorite books in the universe, and how they tell just the type of story that I like to read, and I hope that I'm trying to write as well, that really tie into the emotions and get through to people what it would really like to be living in this universe. Yeah, it's it's very difficult for me to pick out one character. I mean, I could tell you all my favorite characters that I like to write, but that's just as far as a single favorite character, I can't answer the question. There's just
that's a great answer to start us off.
There's just too
what
many.
do you got? And that's from one of the core authors. Well done. Oz? Oz?
The keyboard's a lie. Of course, you came to me second because I really don't have a good answer. I mean, there's just so many good characters. I'm like thinking of characters that aren't mine. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Bjorn. But I mean, one of the things I'm running into as I'm doing research for projects is I'll go to look something up in a book, and then it'll be 3 chapters later. Oh, I started reading it again.
So this is why I gave you the question early, so that you'd have an answer. Marissa.
I have like 10, so I'll give you my top 3.
Okay, fair enough. That's an answer.
Thank you. I am going to say San first because so many other people have written her at this point that it's not whatever the word is, snobby. I don't know, whatever. I love her whenever she pops up. I love her, whoever is writing her. I love that she is a
self-aggrandizement.
Oh, yes?
It's not self-aggrandizement.
That's right. That's what it's not. See?
Right.
She is this force of focused chaos, and I love her. I love her so much. I also very much love the entire cast of Black and White. That is the one where like I really want to work on the Zool sequel with Mark, but also I just want the sequel to Black and White. So selfishly, I'm like, oh no, I can't work on it. Oh no, give me that one. Because my other favorite thing I want to talk about is a favorite alien species, which this will just repeat. You won't have to call me again, but it's basically the Bacha and the Kilshaw, and I love them. And then third, I love frickin' Shirazi. Like, he is a mess, y'all. Like, what a jerk. I love him. Him and Jim both for different reasons. Like, Jim is like the just sweetest little cuddliest bear ever. And then Nigel is such a jerk, and I love them.
Boy Kacey. Boy Kacey on mute.
My wife did a really good job of setting up these like hotkeys around. So when I swing down to the bottom corner, it actually pops this whole screen out of my way. So she knows technology, but I don't. Anyway, I am going to go with the straight up the creator's original creation of Jim Cartwright, the character that nobody would expect to be the hero, the genius, the driving force behind everything that happens, and that's who he is. He's the unlikely hero that is going to save the universe. So Alex is Cromwell, very close second, and I do love Bjorn as well, but I think if I had to pick one, I'd have to pick the king, Jim.
All right, Ian.
I'm actually going to dovetail off of what my man there just said and go with Alexis Cromwell. I've got a huge affinity for Jim Cartwright. Love that guy. He was the one that started it all. He was such a relatable character. You can't not cheer for a guy like that. Cromwell, on the other hand, I thought really had a lot of nuance to her. You know, when you first meet her in Hussars, she's just such a even-keeled character. She's like, to borrow a line from one of my favorite sports movies, she's a duck on the pond. Like, you know, everything is all calm, cool, and collected on the surface, but underneath, you know, those feet are just pedaling as fast as they can go at a mile in a minute. And just a very sophisticated character, and that made her a treat to read.
Tim?
Well, I was tempted to piggyback on what Ian had said, dovetail nicely and say Alexis, because I think she's quite a complex character. But I will go with the point of view character from Weaver, the one that Kacey and Mark wrote about, the Tartantulas. I've always liked an alien perspective. And I found the first thing I wanted to do actually when I thought of writing a novel was, I'll do a Tartantula character. In fact, I thought at the time I was the first one to do it, but I'm very glad to read Weaver, and of course other books as well. I just like the fact that Tartantula start out as being, it's just the monster. And then I think, well, what's the monster's point of view? Because they don't just wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to be a monster. They do think, I'm going to go and eat people, because that's what they like to do and blow things up. But there's more to it than just eating and blowing things up. And I find that really quite fascinating. So I would say the Tartantula from Weaver.
Mark Wandry.
Well, all I got to say is thanks, everyone. Alexis has been one of my favorites to write. She's actually not my favorite character, though. My favorite characters that I love the interactions and the way they work with most is Jim and Nigel. And especially, it's been fun watching them become besties. I always think of that silly movie with those two guys that are stepbrothers, and they're like, when did we become best friends? You know, they kind of hated each other to start with, but now they've really kind of grown on each other, and they rely on each other. Now, but my favorite character overall, though, is without a doubt Murdoch. I've had the most fun with him from Dirty Deeds, and I cannot wait to get back to him, because he's just he's like Clint Eastwood mixed with Tim the Toolman Taylor, from he's a great combination of guys, and he's had his life arc where it's just like everything is just turned to crap constantly, and he just keeps going, and he goes off to go into retirement and gets in another war, and he's like, really, is this gonna happen again? All right, I'll just blow some stuff up. That's because that's what I do best. And he's been a lot of fun to write. He's really my favorite character, I think.
Girl Kacey.
So like Marissa, I have two answers. My favorite character of my own creation that I enjoyed writing quite a bit was probably Choking Deluge from Assassin. So much so that I made him star in his own short story for one of the anthologies, the Tales from the Lion's Den, I think it was. He's just fun. So all of the Depic, like their sort of character concept is that they're super adorable, cuddly sociopaths. Like they love really, really hard, and also they'll gut you without a second thought, right? And so Del was the like boisterous boy version of that, and I had a lot of fun writing him that way. And so he's probably my favorite character to write. But my favorite character that I don't control, that I don't own, and in some ways my favorite character to interact with, because I've very recently had the opportunity to co-write a story starring this character, is Jim Cartwright. I think he's such a complex character, and he's such a 3D real character that spoiler alert, Mark and I co-wrote a story together for the next Four Horsemen Universe anthology, and this truly is a spoiler. It's a love story. It's a love story with Jim Cartwright, and
Dun, dun, dun.
And it's super.
No, there's no ponies in it.
There is though. There's one small pony scene.
I didn't just spit soda everywhere.
I'll let you guys decide what pony scene means in this context, but anyway, it was really, really good to get to know the character that way, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. And I think you guys are really not, you guys the authors, but also you guys the audience are not going to want to miss this anthology in particular if you're a fan of the universe, because we see a lot of really interesting, deep character development throughout the course of that story. So I love Jim.
You're also going to get a chance to see the beginning of The Lion too. Colonel.
Well, I, of course, love Jim Cartwright and a couple of the others, but my favorite character lately, and thinking about it, is Thor. Of all the things, here's somebody that's they're happy-go-lucky, carefree, innocent. The definition of innocence. They're brought into this world that's crazy and violent and different that they're not prepared for, and you watch as Thor kind of loses that innocence a little bit, yet grows. For example, when half of his family dies fighting the aliens in those spaceships and stuff. I mean, it's not their war, it's not their problem, yet here they are going out there to assist other people and to do things like that. And just the way he's able to maintain a certain level of that innocence and playfulness and cheerfulness, that's so indicative of the species. So I have to kind of go with Thor on this one, even though I love a lot of the Rorgul. I'm a big fan of Dirty Deeds and the character arc that's going on there and stuff, but ultimately Thor.
Rob?
I gotta echo Jim Cartwright first. It's always nice to see the fat kid get a chance to win, because I may have some tendencies toward that myself. But I generally like the characters that are the sergeants that, and I use that in the term, not just the rank in the army, they're in the units here, but also they're the supporting characters, the ones whose no-nonsense actions make opportunities for the heroes to do their things. And I like a lot of those kind of characters. And so the leading one to that is Lyons, because he's there giving all sorts of help to all of the Mercs on Earth, and not just human mercs, but also other races mercs. And he's just a little bit, you know, sort of a subtle character, but he sits there and he adds a lot of glue to the entire system. So Cartwright and Lyon's probably my two favorites.
Jamie?
I have a list as well. I'm a huge fan of Thorb and the Salsha in general. The line that really got me was, I think it was in A Fiery Sunset. There's a lot of books to keep track of, but the idea that one of the Salsha stayed behind, that nobody goes into the light alone, that was a big deal. That was a huge moment, and that was awesome. I'm a huge fan of Nigel Shirazi. He's so angry when we first meet him, and he's just throwing his life away. And then as his family is torn apart, he steps up. And that's a big theme in Four Horsemen in general, right? Is stepping up to the challenge as it comes after you. Now that Kacey's back, one of the most memorable short story characters that I've read that I'm a huge fan of is, and I have to check to make sure I get her name right, Aaliyah, the young gal who gets adopted by the Besquith.
Yes,
in her short story, and Hope Is Not a Strategy. That story has
Elia, thank you.
So that's awesome. But my overall favorite character anywhere has got to be Ricky. I think Redacted Affairs is probably my favorite Four Horsemen book in general, and Ricky out of that, and all of the shenanigans that he gets into, the push tall tiger-like alien who gets adopted by a family from Georgia, and very much becomes a southerner, even though he's an alien from another solar system. It's fantastic, and the memes and the jokes that have turned up in the Four Horsemen group on Facebook have been hysterically funny. So Ricky's got to be my number one.
And Mark Stallings.
So I went from fan reader to writer. So like the others, I have a list, and I think about the irreverent rule breakers. So I like the original Jim Cartwright from Alpha Contracts. Just being able to get in and shake the tree and figure the stuff out and make the magic happen. I loved the original story of how each one of the four horsemen actually came to be. I'm a huge fan of Alexis Cromwell. I think Winged Hussars of the first 4 books was very strong. I'm a big fan of Kevin's character Jessica. Again, getting in there and shaking the tree and seeing what happens. And then near and dear to my heart is Bjorn from John Osborne. Valhalla awaits.
Yeah, there's definitely a wide variety of heroes, no matter what your idea of hero is. Whether that's the person that steps up, whether that's the person that's quick on their feet, whether that's the person that goes charging in with a big battle axe. There's all sorts of heroes, and one that everybody can identify with.
In all shapes, sizes, and genders.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I was going to be a homer and say Thor, if nobody else did, because I've had the most fun writing him. When he goes to try and get the Salsha membership as a Merc race and is going around to all of the different guilds, I probably was in tears laughing so hard myself. I may not have done as good a job as I could have because I was laughing so hard myself. But I would say the Lion, and a lot of people have touched on the Lion. You'll get to see more of the Lion in the upcoming anthology, and then a full-length story. The actual Lion has told me all of the Lion history, and it's a tragedy, and will it become a summer cornism where you pull the tragedy into this one big thing and make everything worthwhile? We shall see. And speaking of memes, Summercorn, yeah.
And that's a fantastic redemption arc too. Like talk about spawning the epic red shirt. Chris Summercorn showing up as the disaster in book 1 and a disaster in book 2 and a disaster in book 3 and going out like a hero in book 4. That was tremendous.
All right. So we've got a bunch of authors written a bunch of stories. What are you most proud of? And Marissa, we'll start with you. What are you most proud of?
So I'm one of those authors who got their start in the 4-HU. So these last 2.5 years, 3 years have been a lot of learning. And anytime that I can bring a grown man to tears, or a writer that I admire can only curse at something I wrote, then those are my proudest moments. So those two things include a scene in Hunter between Tamir and Esthik, when multiple people were like, so I cried in public. Thank you for that. And I cannot tell you how much my heart swelled. It was so joyous to me. I was so proud of that. And another is when Mark and I talked about a scene towards the end of Night Song, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So I wrote it that night. And his only response was, "Holy F, Marissa." I kept that comment in until we sent Night Song to the editor, because I loved it. Every time I saw it, I have a screenshot of it, Mark, just so you know. So those are my two proudest moments so far.
Boy, Kacey?
Well, my proudest creation is Bull, who I created for the Mushroom Farm. He was just supposed to be sort of that background badass character that was leading the special op. And then I developed a book out of him, and I was just going to fill the book with stuff people said in the Air Force that was absolutely hilarious, just like terms and phrases that one of my buddies in particular uses all the time, and we have a bingo card for him when he's talking. But that character turned into something I'm incredibly proud of. I sort of developed him into this person that everybody doesn't like on a visceral level, but he helps everybody innately, not just in going off and doing rescue operations. He pulls one of the characters out of a PTSD hell. He hands Snowman the company that Snowman always wanted. So I didn't intend to do that when I set out to write that book. By the time I'd written it, I was kind of really proud of what I had done with that character. Going through that and getting emotional about it, I'm starting to, I had to follow on to that. It's gone now.
All right, moving on. Ian.
Yeah, man, that's a toughie. First off, I guess one of the coolest things about writing in 4-HU was, and kudos to Chris and Mark for this. They gave me just total carte blanche to plant my flag in the deep American South and just create what that looks like, and specifically the state of Florida, which is my home state. I've been told from people who have read Freebird Rising and A Family Tradition who are down there, like that could truly come to pass, where you have North Florida and South Florida split in half into two completely independent states. Getting to play with that whole idea within the context of the 4-HU and how economics work in the 23rd century. It was just fun getting to create what North Florida and Jacksonville in specific looks like at that time in the future. The culture of it, the look of it, it was everything about that whole world building experience was a blast. Probably more so than any other world I've built, even though it was in somebody else's sandbox. The other thing I just thoroughly have enjoyed writing is the character of Taylor Van Zandt. And I know that may be low hanging fruit, but I love the kid. He has a lot of parallels to Jim Cartwright, and he's the young guy who, has to step up into some very nasty circumstances because that's what is required of him. But the way he handles it is just a treat to write. His perspective on life, because of a lot of the stuff that he's been through, the way he treats people, the way he leans on the other people around him. Like, my definition of leadership is somebody that just surrounds themselves with really good people and has a lot to listen to from them in forming his decisions. And that's Taylor Van Zandt to a T. And getting to flesh out his growth as a character, not only in Freebird Rising, but as everybody's going to see with Street Survivors hits in a week from Chris and I, the evolution of that character has just been so much fun to write. So that's what I got, man.
Tim?
I think it was the book that I co-wrote with you, actually, and 1 Minute to Midnight.
Just a darn good time to write. That was fun.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. and I really enjoyed it, and I was proud that it did seem to work quite well, because I'd had a bad experience previously co-writing. That worked really well. And for me, the proudest bit was Chris trusting me that I wrote some Golden Horde characters and some Salsha as well. And I like to think that I did okay. And for me, that's my proudest moment. Letting, more directly than perhaps I had previously, working in somebody else's area, and it all worked so freely, so between us. That worked pretty well.
It was great. Mark Wandry.
I think the thing I'm most proud of, besides creating a universe that has been done really well for me, meant a lot for me, and really launched my career as a professional author, is the fact that I have created something that so many other people have, one, had so much fun writing in, but two, so many people have begun their writing careers and said, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to set in a story, and it gets published, and they're like, oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought. And they go on from there. My Oz has been my friend for 25 years or longer, and we both always wanted to write. I always thought it would be him, the one who would break out first, and it was me. And after we got this going and the first anthology came up, I said, you know, Oz, write a story. I said, just write the story. I'll give it to Chris. And if he likes it, he'll publish it. I didn't make him any promises. And he did, and he never looked back. He's written, I think, 5 books now, so 6.
We gave him a deadline, and he went, oh! And then he jumped on it and did it, and it was great.
That deer in the headlights look with him at the beer when we said that. It's like, how about Christmas? Okay. But that's what I'm proud of, is that this is so much more than me, but it's also me in here. I've got a chance to pour myself into this, and everyone's been so receptive and so glad to do it. And we have so many fans, almost 700 in the Mercenary Guild, but like Chris could tell you, tens of thousands of people have read these books and continue to read them. And I'm very grateful, and I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, it was neat, Jamie, reading out all the different countries that have people that have joined the guild. I mean, that's really cool. Yeah. Girl Kacey.
So once again, I have a list. So there was a moment shortly after Gilded Cage in the first anthology, A Fistful of Credits, came out. And there was a reviewer who reviewed the whole anthology. And when he came to my story, he focused in on this one particular phrase that I used, and talked about how that particular phrase had made him cry, because I was talking about the main character at the time was addicted to this made-up drug that I made up for the story, and he, I didn't say a lot about her condition, but he keyed in on this one particular phrase and said that in that economy of words, I had encapsulated the kind of the essence of the horror that is living with an addiction. And I don't claim to be an expert on such things, but I was really, really touched that that I was able to, again, evoke that emotional response in this individual. And so that for me sort of encapsulated like what I want to do as a writer, like what my overall goal is when I tell stories, is to make people feel things and make feelings resonate with them. And so I'm very proud that I have been able to do that. And that people have come to me several times and said, yeah, your story really resonated with me, like Jamie did with Elia in I forgot the name of my story, but that. So I'm very proud of the emotional responses that I've been able to evoke. And I am also really, really proud of bullying my friends into writing in the Four Horsemen universe. We have two Kacey bullying course alums here in the call today. And I'm just, every time they release something, I'm so amazed and so like, have that like mama moment of, oh, my baby, I mean, they're not my babies, they're my friends. and they're so, they're such great writers. And I'm so grateful to Chris and Mark, honestly, for creating this this atmosphere where I can bring people in and be like, hey, you're a good writer, write this effing story in this universe, send it to me, and then I'll send it on and we'll see what happens. So I've got another one in the pipe too, so excited.
Colonel, are you proud of something?
I do. I actually have an answer for this one, even though I'm not one of the writers and I can't claim any of the contribution to the thing. But my proudest moment was actually being shanghaied into creating this organization and writing it down there. I had come out of another organization where there was a little bit of a breakup that happened. And somebody noticed my style and thought enough of me to bring me into this amazing organization. But what I'm most proud of ultimately is the team that I've been able to meet and develop and that have come together to support this. One member, Jamie, here with membership. We've got just everybody that's on the Mercenary Council that's put together such amazing content. David Fretz, a very great fan who works really hard on making sure the companies get put together and has made uniform tutorials. And just as I watch all these people get so excited and create their own chapters where they bring their own little touch into this universe, the Shiro Syndicate with their different backgrounds and the Stormbreakers with their kilts and their little bit craziness, and just all these disparate people coming together and kind of going off their own way. The fact that I've been able to put my fingers into that and just kind of bring some of this fantasy that we live in our minds into real life, where we can dress up in our silly costumes and go do toys for tots and go out there and just show a force of good in the community and show that we're not all just nerds talking about books. We're nerds trying to make a difference based on the ideals that these books have taught us. So that's what I'm most proud of.
Oh, Howell.
So this is going to be a little hard for me to get through, but I want to dovetail and piggyback on something girl Kacey said earlier. At the end of Feeding of Sorrows, there's a scene with Kial the Kashkawa talking to his sergeant. That scene is him trying to recover in his head after the battle and the horrors he's just experienced in his first battle. He's a Kashkawa, he's not a Merck race. He's having to learn how this all works. I didn't realize that I got it right. I had several people who have been in some really bad situations where they've seen the elephant and had the bullets flying past their ears come to me in the couple years since that came out and say thank you for putting into words what they felt. What more could a writer ever want?
Absolutely. Well spoken. Jamie?
My first novel was a Four Horsemen novel that I did co-written with Jason Cordova, and that was a pretty big deal. Writing a novel and getting it published, until you've done it, it really seems like an insurmountable kind of, oh, that's for people who know what they're doing kind of a thing. And I'd done a couple of short stories before I did Gunboat, but it went well, and Gunboat continues to do well, and people seem to appreciate it because we tackled a fairly serious topic in Gunboat, and people really appreciated that, even though we sprinkled it with humor, and we played off the idea that these aliens, there's only like one scene with any humans in it at all, but these aliens are all trying to get their heads wrapped around these weirdos from Earth. And the pilot in particular, because they spend so much time in hyper traveling from place to place, he's become obsessed with human pop culture. And he's consuming movies as much as he can. And there's a scene that I really appreciated that people seem to have liked, where he's watching Inglourious Basterds by Quentin Tarantino, and the push to identify with the heroes from that movie because of what they themselves have been through and all that kind of thing. And even though it's played for laughs, it's also, kind of tackling that subject of to what lengths will you go to protect or save the people you care for and people you love. And people really like that, and they got kind of what we were going for that. So I really like that scene, and I'm really pleased that my very first novel got to be a Four Horsemen novel. That was a big deal.
Very cool. Mark Stallings.
So, again, coming from the fan reader and, being given an opportunity to write a novel in the Four Horsemen universe, I mean, it's humbling. And, the fact that Matt Novotny and I were able to collaborate and run Jackson Rains through the emotional meat grinder. I mean, I'm pretty happy with how we crafted a redemption arc. And like with Rob, even today there's a scene there towards the end, I'm not going to spoil it, that still just really tweaks the heart. I mean, it just, even as I read it, and I helped write it, and it's just that's the thing that I want is readers to have that emotional journey and to be able to enjoy what we craft. So thank you guys for letting me do that.
Ike?
When I take a chance and step back and look at my bookshelf, I find it hard to believe that I've written so much in this universe, especially about a character that was a throwaway character and an emotional beat in a short story in the first anthology. And to have taken her on this journey and built her the way that I have, and spooled out a story that's actually included now a series running parallel with the main line, I'm floored by that, and I'm very proud of where that's come from. And I had someone come up to me one day and said, I really like your character, Jessica Francis. How do you write a character like this so well? And I told them that I have 2 daughters at home, and my motivation was to write the story that would have them not come up to me in 5 years and go, Dad, what the hell? I wanted them to have a heroine that they could follow. Kind of caveating on some of the emotional stuff. I got my dad to not talk to me for a week with a death in Fields of Fire. That was pretty fun. I got a text message from another friend that basically called me an SOB. But in the end, they recognized where that was. But I think of all the stuff that I've done with the Four Horsemen universe, one that is not actually in the writing piece, as far as my personal writing, would be starting the Four Horsemen Merck Writing Academy. So we had a lot of people that were interested in writing and had never done anything and wanted to know a little bit more about stuff. So I started doing some classes and did these little 15-minute videos. And I've taught writing to a lot of people. And having some of those folks now who are not just publishing short stories with in the Four Horsemen universe or with Chris Kennedy Publishing, but branching out and going other areas with their stories is just really fantastic.
Oz?
So my story in A Fistful of Credits was my first ever story published. And here I was, already 51 years old. And so up to that point, writing had just been kind of like oh yeah, I'd really like to do this, and I'd never finished anything. And what my proudest moment, I think, was when I started seeing reviews pop up and said, great, when are we gonna get a Bjorn's Berserkers book? And that told me I had, had actually reached to, readers, and that, I could actually do this writing thing. As far as my proudest story work, though, it's actually a non-Bjorn's Berserker story. It's my short story in Negotiations, which features an aging Besquith and aging Depic. And a friend of mine read it and texted me back 2 words, "You bastard."
Nice. Well, I could go through and do, a lot of the ones that have already been done. I'm going to give you a quick story of something that happened here this past week. Somebody was wearing a Four Horsemen shirt, went into the county courthouse where he was doing some business, and the person that saw him called him by the name of the character on that shirt. I couldn't be prouder than to be in a group of people in a universe where, somebody can go out and be recognized as the character in a shirt by somebody working in a county courthouse, just out of nowhere. And then to have the reader play it off, he said, hi, Mr. Rains. And he says, you can call me Jackson, and that level of just, wow. and I get to be part of that, and that's just so cool. Okay, so we're getting close on time. We're going to have to keep this one short. What do you have coming up, or what would you like to write in the Four Horsemen universe? So, you know, if you're currently working on something that's coming here soon, or where you want to go, quick answers, please, to this. Ian Malone, what do you got coming, or what do you want to do?
Coming up, as previously mentioned, The Street Survivors, which is the follow-up to Freebird Rising. That's the collaboration I just wrapped with Chris Kennedy. That's going to drop next Friday at Fantasy. Beyond that, something else that I'd like to write in the 4HU, I introduce a character in Street Survivors who, to kind of what Ikenberry was saying just a second ago, was a throwaway character. Like, I needed to create a character just to pass a scene and just be a bridge, essentially. And I spent about 3 days just fleshing this character out for one half of a chapter, and she completely blew me away. She's a Siricon. And I told Chris when I finished that section of text, I was like, this is a character that has a future. Write it down. We're not going to have time for her just yet. This is not her time, but her time is going to come. So when you guys get Street Survivors and you get to about chapter 3, call me. We'll talk.
She's a neat character.
She's fun. Oh yeah, she's spicy.
Tim? But not in the Chris Woods Siricon spicy. Yeah.
True story.
Tim?
Yeah, hopefully I've got a short story coming out soon in an anthology. It will feature a character I've written before. I'm not going to say who it is, but if you've been paying attention to what I've been saying tonight, you might be able to guess.
Mark Wandry.
Right now, working on the sequel to Black and White, which is called Blood in the Water. Hopefully, that'll be out this year. I've been a little behind on getting writing on some other side projects. The thing I most like to write would be the stories that deal with the Great War, the stuff 20,000 years ago, way back before any of this happened. Chris and I have talked about this, and the problem is we can't do any of this soon because, well, it would literally let everything loose. You know, I've written one short story based on that, and that was in the Peacemaker anthology. And that gave almost more away than we wanted to in some ways, but it needed to come out. So now I'm just patiently waiting till we get to the point that we can release those series of books. I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. Girl, Kacey?
So I already mentioned the the story in the Wings, the upcoming Four Horsemen anthology. Although by the time this airs, it might be out. I don't know when it's supposed to come out. Chris, you can
keep talking, and I'll have an answer in a sec.
But yes, in the story's called Friends with Benefits, and it's in the Wings, the side character Four Horsemen Universe anthology. Co-written with Mark Wandry, and then this summer Marissa Wolf and I are writing Ally, which will be the culmination of the Depic arc in the current Four Horsemen universe.
It'll be right after LibertyCon, so right after they see this, it'll be coming out.
So coming
July
soon.
9th. July
Yes.
9th. Colonel.
Well, I'm not a writer, but I actually wrote a cookbook for the fan organization. In that cookbook is a bunch of different little recipes and fun little story where I actually tackled kind of Memory, a character that's in negotiations, and me, since I was in the book as well, kind of bringing together, let's bring together memories of some cookbooks, kind of in the theme of the thing there. So that's going to be actually kind of a living document as people join the organization, want to add something in there with a little short story. They're certainly able to add to it and just come together and share food. It's almost like we're all together at the same time as we eat each other's stuff.
And if you've read Negotiation, you'll get it when you get the cookbook. You'll totally get it. Rob Howell.
So I am excited that The Ravening of Wolves, which is the sequel to The Feeding of Sorrows, comes out on the 18th of June. I get a chance to really go back into the Foresters and have a bunch of things go boom, and a lot of interesting things happen. I'm really excited about that. Beyond that, Rick Blaine does not really make an appearance. If you remember in Feeding of Sorrows, Rick Blaine is a fairly important character. He doesn't make any appearances in this one because the time frame of the Stargates is too short. So down the road, you're going to see a bunch of short stories as Rick Blaine starts really uncovering some of the things behind what actually happened in the Feeding of Sorrows.
Jamie?
So right now, Kacey, Mary, and I
I'm
are-
laughing because, and nobody out there in watching land is going to know this, but there is a chat running, and if you see us just laughing periodically, that's because
Yeah.
I know what's coming here.
Right. So whether this is actually what we're going to call it by the time we get to publication date, no idea. But Kacey and I are kind of joining forces, and I'm taking a character from Gunboat Diplomacy, and we're going to continue a side story with Bull, and we're about 32,000 words in right now. And the book may be called Buff Orpington and the Moon Base Massacre. We'll see.
Mark Stallings.
Oh boy, that's how do I follow that up? So Matt and I in Prodigal Son, we put in a couple characters and a couple arcs. So he and I are whispering about, doing the next chapter in that world. So, because I too have a Siricon character that needs to be chased down. She's spicy, but in kind of the deranged way.
In kind of the Chris Woods way.
No, this is more of like the Anthony Hopkins and Silence of the Lamb kind of way.
Kevin.
I have a story coming up in the Wings, which goes back in time a little bit and introduces the inspiration for the name of a particular character in the Peacemaker series, Lucille. And you'll see some familiar characters when they were younger, which is a lot of fun. And I have just this week started work on Harbinger, which will culminate the Search for Snowman storyline. What I've been teasing for the last year and a half or so comes true, and it will be a game changer.
Oz.
So I'm working on Rules of Engagement, the Four Horsemen Universe role-playing game source book with Mark. And in fact, as of time of this recording, we're getting ready to launch the Kickstarter. And as far as books go, depending on the schedule, the next one I work on might be the sequel to Bjorn in the YA line, tentatively titled Graduation Day.
Marissa?
Yeah, Ally with Kacey Ezell, which is going to be amazing. Eventually, after Blood in the Water comes out, maybe the sequel to Night Song with the Zool with Mark. And a thing I'd really love to write besides the Great War, because I want in on that, guys, is the just a little plug in front of witnesses. That's fine. I really want to write a story with my Peacemaker from Set the Terms. I loved him.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. Publisher says yes.
Okay, I like that. Thank you. It's on the list.
Boy, Kacey.
All right, so a couple months back, I finished off my follow-up to These Things We Do. That book was set several decades in the past. It was sort of more of an origin story for the most part. It stretched from the Alpha contracts through the middle of the time period and ended in recent current events. So I just made the follow-up to that, Mess with the Bull, which is Bull and the company doing their thing in the current timeline while all the other things are going on. And the follow-up to that, sort of leading into the Peacemaker, the Rise of the Peacemaker series, is my collaboration with Jamie Ibson, as you mentioned, which is apparently not going to be called Buff Orpington and the Moon Base Massacre as much as we'd love it to be. I don't think we can get away with calling it Die Hard on the Moon, and Eye of the Push-Tall has already been pushed out by Eye of the Storm. I think maybe Thrill of the Fight. We'll see. We got some choices.
We're like on title 6 or 7 at this point.
And for my part, like Ian mentioned, got the book with him. We have a third book to finish off his character's arc there that we've already talked about. And when you see Street Survivors, you will realize how, what, where, when, why. Got to write the story of the lion, and looking forward to getting back to writing the next main storyline book with Mark. That will probably be the end of the Guild Wars. So that'll be big, and then something new will, I'm sure, happen in the universe. Okay, so last question. Favorite alien race? Go, Mark, Wandry.
Zool, without a doubt. Always had the most fun with them. I think they're, there's so much of a kindred spirit between the humans and the Zool that they're only just understanding, as we dealt with in Night Song with Marissa and I wrote. Second favorite would probably be the Rogel.
Girl Kacey. Catch you right in the middle of the drink.
Yeah, sorry. Depic.
Colonel.
Rogel.
Rob.
Kava.
What?
The Kashkava.
Oh, Kashkala. Okay. All we got was Kala. Jamie.
Pushtal.
What?
The Pushtal.
Mark Stallings.
Esquith.
Kevin.
Ugar.
John.
Esquith.
Marissa.
Zool Depic. That's one more.
Boy Kacey.
Goka.
Interesting. Ian.
Sumitozu.
Tim.
Rogel.
I'm going to go with the Sumas also because it would be too much of a homer to take the Salsha. So I'll go Sumituzo. Especially they've been fun to write here recently, and I see more good things coming for them. And that will be the end with 13 people here. I'm not going to have everybody go back through. You can all just say goodbye and thank you. 1, 2, 3, go.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you,
everyone.
On everyone.
Bye, thank you.
And thanks for everybody that tuned in and stayed with us. Take a look, start with Cartwright's Cavaliers, and I think you'll be happy. Enjoy the journey. As you can see, we got a lot of great folks in the system. One thing before we go, if people are interested in signing up for the Merck Guild, Colonel or Jamie, whichever of you wants to take this, tell people how to get involved.
I believe you can sign up on merkguild.org, but it's better to find us on Facebook. If you look up the Mercenary Guild, the official Four Horsemen Fan Association, there's all the links and stuff there. We're still working on a web page, and I'm going to find an IT person one day, and we're all going to be happy. But until that point, best to find us on Facebook.
You'll know the difference between the generic Four Horsemen group and the TMG Guild, and that TMG is in all capitals.
And if you just search 4HU, you'll find not the guild one, but you'll find the baseline, and you can join us there, and everybody there can point you in the right direction.
And we've got a little line on mercenaryguild.org too, so if you just look for that.
All righty, and thanks all for coming, and thank you very much for all the writers that showed up to talk and put up with me and having to fight with 12 other people to do it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.